Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to discuss the daily ritual humiliation that Sunak seems to be putting himself through and ask whether or not he's going to need therapy at the end of this election campaign. I assume there are lots of good psychiatrists in California, so I'm sure he'll be fine. But the latest from earlier today was an absolute beauty and bears a bit of analysis. And yes, I know you were probably expecting me to talk about Nigel Farage's big announcement, but just like Sunak, he has no respect for my schedule, came far too late. I may do it later this evening, however, depends how interesting it is. Although, I can guess what it might be, but I can't rule out he's just advertising a new line of like whiskey or something with his name on it. But we have the real clown of this election to discuss in the meantime. Another MRP poll has dropped this afternoon with, I think there's another one expected later today. The latest this time from Redfield and Wilton has the Conservatives losing ground, just like all the others. Basically, all the polls to have come out since the election was announced have shown the gap between Labour and the Conservatives actually widening. It's a consistent trend now. Doesn't mean it will continue, of course. There's nothing inevitable about it. The polls may well narrow by polling day, but the more they widen now, the harder Sunak has to shift the dial to get the gap down to something respectable. And going on the basis of his efforts so far, it would seem to me that the Tories are going to be reliant on dumb luck to help them avoid being the third largest party at the end of this election. An ITV correspondent posted up a video clip of Rishi Sunak today, pretending to talk to some people. He was sat with his back to a river in Henley. First of all, under normal circumstances, you would ask, why is he in Henley? That's like a really safe Tory seat, isn't it? And Sunak's only got time to visit the marginals, hasn't got time to be messing about in safe seats. But such is the state of the Tories these days that even once very safe seats are marginals now. Henley is very likely to go to the Lib Dems. But anyway, as he's pretending to say words, a boat passed by in the background with a load of Liberal Democrat campaign boards. His party's opponent, the Lib Dem opponents in that area, and the ones, as I say, who are actually likely to take this seat. Photobombed him in spectacular fashion. As quite a few people have noted, that was another boat that Sunak didn't stop. And you watch the video and you think that's quite funny. And I immediately thought that Sunak's going to develop a nervous tic whenever his team tell him it's time to go out for a photo shoot if this keeps happening. Because every single day he goes out to do, I know he does multiple photo opportunities a day, but they all seem to end up with ridicule. Like every single photo op he's been on, I think, has ended up being ridiculed. Sometimes he's deserved it. Sometimes it was a really stupid thing to do. Sometimes, as in this case, like you couldn't possibly predict that, even with a decent campaign team. But it nonetheless all adds to a clown show of a campaign for Sunak. He announces the election in the pouring rain with things can only get better blaring in the background. Gets caught out planting Conservative politicians in a crowd of factory workers to give him easy questions. Make out is answering questions of the public. Visits the birthplace of the Titanic, inviting predictably unwelcome parallels. Carries out more talks with members of the public in what are supposed to be a controlled environment. But the eye rolls tell a story in itself. The same correspondent who posted this video was on the Tory battle bus at the weekend and tweeted, "We're literally driving through a graveyard." You know the bit at the end of news programmes where they finish with a funny story so you don't sink into a pit of depression after learning of all the terrible things happening in the world? They don't need to do that anymore. It's covered in the election news. Sunak is the unintentional comic relief of this election. But this video, it's actually, you may have watched it like I did without the sound on because you don't think you need the sound. It's purely visual. But actually, when you listen to it with the sound, it's worse. Because when you listen to it, he's sort of in sleep mode for a bit. Because he probably thinks, well, we're not doing this while the Lib Dems are floating past me. Then he seems to look at his handler and goes, oh, we keep going. And then starts with his sound bites for the camera, which gives the game away. He wasn't actually having a conversation with people at all. He was just delivering lines from a script, like an actor. Now, there is a bit of this in political photo ops, of course, but it's usually best not to keep drawing attention to the strings controlling the puppets too often. Even his fully controlled campaign videos are a disaster. You know how people keep pointing out that, particularly with the tools available in Photoshop these days and other programs, politicians should not be pictured next to flip charts or holding up bits of card, because people will edit an unfortunate message into them. Team Sunak has yet to read the memo. Labour have actually used one of Sunak's pathetic efforts in one of their own campaign videos, watched by over 2.5 million people on Twitter alone so far. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Just how bad they can be. During this campaign, I've been fascinated by Tim Montgomery. He's influential Conservative Party commentator, founded Conservative Home, that sort of thing. He's been tearing his hair out at how bad the Tory campaign is. He's been aware they're going to lose for a while now. He's got his head screwed on in many ways. But to watch him losing his mind at just how bad their campaign is, it's sort of bittersweet. It's like funny to watch, but then you also think, yeah, that was me 5 years ago. And it will be in the future, such is the yin and yang of politics. But I can hopefully console myself in the knowledge that Labour were never this bad and would never allow themselves ever to be this bad in a campaign. I'm still amazed the Tories had the capacity to sink this low. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.